everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Limitless with Nadia. I am your host, Nadia Khaled, and I am seriously so excited to finally get this show on the road. I have been wanting to make this podcast for you guys for the longest time, but I am now finally ready to bring it into fruition. And what better way to kick off 2023 than with a podcast where I'm sharing with all of you how you're going to manifest your dream life, how you're going to become your best self, and take you on the same journey that I was on for the past couple of years so that you can, like I said, unlock your limitless potential and manifest the life of your dreams. So in this podcast, we are going to be talking about so many super fun concepts that I personally am super passionate about. One of them is astrology. Another one is human design, which if you don't know what human design is, it's basically a modern day combination of astrology, the chakra system, biogenetics, and a bunch of other things. And it basically gives you a whole other aspect of yourself that makes it much easier to get into alignment with your dream self and your dream life. So that's another really cool thing that we're going to be tackling on the pod. We're also going to be talking about things like neuroscience, how to hack your subconscious mind, how to basically change your state of being so that you're able to embody the version of yourself that you've always wanted to become. This, again, is something I have been so ready to share with you guys, and I can't wait to bring you into it. I'm going to go ahead and start off by addressing one of the biggest questions that I get, which is what got me into manifesting. And let's take it all the way back to when I got fired from my job in January of last year, which has led me to literally making this podcast, which, by the way, has been on my vision board for a really long time. And now it's finally freaking here. So again, let's roll it back to January of last year, where basically I had graduated with my bachelor's in psychology. And what I was doing at the time was I wanted to become a clinical licensed therapist. And so I was enrolled in a master's degree, and I was working as a substance abuse counselor for the county where I live in. And so I really had this like hero, wanted to save the world kind of mentality. But then I realized that that job actually was not really fulfilling me. I was miserable there, and I just didn't really know what else to do. So I kind of just stayed there. And then I went on a trip to Miami with my friends in early January. That's kind of where I first had the idea of, oh my God, wait, everything is limitless. There's infinite potential. I can have whatever the hell I want. And it was because I met somebody on that trip to Miami, and he basically was like, yeah, I basically just decided that I was going to get rich. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I always talked about it like, yeah, I'm going to get rich. And then he eventually got rich. And I was like, okay, wait, he literally just spoke that into existence, and he had no proof that he was going to get it, but it still happened. So I kind of left that trip and I was like, I feel so inspired right now. How can I start applying this in my life? And then I kind of gave myself permission to think limitlessly and be like, okay, if I had a magic wand and I could make anything out of my life, how would I want my life to look? And that's actually a really exciting question when you give yourself the permission to think like that. And so I was like, you know what? I would love to be working more on social media, because at the time my TikTok account had grown a lot because I was just posting fun videos on there for shits and giggles, and they would like go viral. So I was like, okay, I know I love doing stuff in social media. What if I became like, you know, somebody who works in social media and TikTok was like literally my job? So that was kind of something that was on my mind for a while, but I never really did anything about it. But eventually I came back from that trip in Miami, and it turned out that one of my TikToks had actually gone so viral that my director at my job freaking saw it. And you don't know embarrassment until you are called into the office and said, like, they tell you, hey, is this you? Like, this is a TikTok of you filming at work. And I was literally like, okay, yeah, that is me. I'm not going to say no because it's literally my account. So they basically fired me, long story short, and I had no plan. I had no idea that was even going to happen. But oddly enough, I left feeling relieved, which was not something that I was expecting at all, but I felt like a burden had been kind of like lifted off my shoulders. And I was like, you know what? I might as well just go ham and really try to get a job in social media at this point and make my dreams into a reality. So then I started listing out in my manifestation journal. I was like, okay, if I had that magic wand and I can manifest any job in social media that I wanted, what would that job be? So I basically listed out in the form of bullets. I was like, I want to be working no more than 4 hours a day. I want to be making like $8,000 a month, which was a significant jump from what I was making before. I wanted to be doing stuff where I was literally on my phone, like through TikTok or whatever it was. So I listed all those things out, and then I started looking for jobs on like in social media. And then eventually I landed one, and it was everything that I had wanted and everything that I had listed in that manifestation journal, which everybody that I work with as a coach, because I do manifestation coaching as well, they always have this moment where they've manifested something to the T of what it was that they were manifesting. And it's always this like mind-blowing moment of, holy shit, the universe was actually listening to me. That's insane. So that was really exciting. And then I was like, okay, if I could do this, I can manifest anything. So then I started writing things down like, okay, I worked with a brand in a collaboration and I made like $5,000 off of one video, which I had never made that much money with like that amount of work before. So I wrote it down, and then a couple of weeks later, it literally happened. I got an email out of nowhere and this brand was like, hey, we would love to work with you and we want to pay you this much for one video. Then it was another one of those, wow, that really just happened. The universe was listening to everything I was saying. So that's kind of how I got started into it. It was really more about like career stuff. And so then I was like, wait, okay. Once I had realized that this was actually a thing and I realized what my process was to make it a reality, I started talking about it all over TikTok. And that's when I started realizing that I wanted to become a coach, helping people master the same process that I did. And so fast forward to now I'm working with clients all the time and I'm helping them to manifest their dream life the same way I did. So that's kind of some background on how I got into manifestation. I also read a lot of books. I read one of my biggest ones that I talk about all over my social media is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've also raved about The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, I think is how you pronounce his name. So there were all these different angles of like I was learning how this stuff actually works and applying it in my life. And I was like, wait, this is legit. So that's what I do now is I'm basically a coach and I help women to master that same process. Okay, something fun that we're going to be doing on this podcast is I'm going to be giving you guys a limitless challenge of the week, where it's basically going to be something for you to focus on to become more limitless. And a lot of these challenges are going to be based on things that I have worked with my clients on. So sometimes it'll be like, okay, this is what you're going to focus on this week to get over this challenge that you've been dealing with. I really want to bring that to you guys and give you some action steps that you can take. So it's not that you're just listening to this podcast and learning new information. You're also going to be learning how to apply it in real life to start seeing results. If you do these challenges and you get results out of it, tag me, let me know. I would love to celebrate your wins with you. So the first limitless challenge that you are going to be getting for this week is to give yourself permission to think limitlessly. A lot of the times when people are thinking about their future, when they're not at that limitless stage yet, they think about their future in a way where there's a lot of limitations and a lot of like, well, I can't really do this because of this. And you come up with a bunch of excuses as to why your dreams aren't possible. So sometimes what I like to do is have my clients be like, okay, when you were little, like when you were a kid, what is something you always wanted to do? What is something you always dreamed of doing? I'll tell you, for me personally, I loved being behind the camera. I always dreamed of a career where I'm literally doing what I'm doing now and talking to my audience behind a camera. So ask yourself, is there something that you really loved doing when you were a kid? Is there something even when you were a teenager that you were like, oh, I would love to do this. It would be such a dream, but you never really took it seriously because you were like, I don't really think that's something that's possible. Start honing in on that and start, like I said, when you give yourself permission to dream as big as you want without being like, okay, how would I logistically make that happen? Don't worry about the how right now. That is a really big thing, you guys. If you want to become limitless, first thing you need to start doing is forget about how you're going to get there. And I know that sounds kind of counterproductive and that's against what most people will tell you. If you haven't seen my TikTok where I'm like, be freaking delusional, this is your time to be delusional, babe. And I'll tell you why. Because you can only be as successful as you think you can be. So you limit your success when you think that there's an automatic ceiling there, right? Like I said, there's limitless potential. There's infinite potential in your life to create any reality that you want. Your mind will literally get you there. You are an energetic being. You send energy out all the time. You're also receiving energy from your environment. And that's a feedback loop that's literally creating your environment on a moment-to-moment basis. So if you were to hypothetically decide right now that you'd be open to any possibility of your life turning out any way, guess what? That would actually start to happen. And if you keep listening to these episodes, I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to do that. So, like I said, this challenge is going to be all about just give yourself the space to be delusional for a second. Don't think about what other people will tell you of like, oh, that's not really that realistic. Like, how are you really going to get there? Like we said, we're not worrying about the how. That's not your business right now, okay? If you watch my TikToks, you will see me say this all the time. Stop worrying about the how. That shit doesn't matter right now. You're just thinking about what you want that end outcome to be. And then trust me, I'll walk you through how to actually get there using your brain and your body. Don't worry about that. I actually recently just came out with a TikTok video about like this analogy proposal. And it was actually inspired by a conversation that I had with one of my coaching clients who happened to struggle a lot with the overthinking of, okay, yeah, I want to be, I don't know, what's an example of something somebody would want to be? I want to get my dream car, right? But maybe you're not in the financial position right now to get your dream car because you just don't have the money yet. And then she'd be like, okay, but how am I going to get there? That I have to get a new job, or I have to do this, I have to do that. And be like, no, babe. Take a couple steps back, okay? I want you to think of it this way. If you're somebody who overthinks all the time and you're like, okay, I really want this thing, but I can't get over the how it's actually going to happen, listen to this, okay? Let's pretend you're in a relationship with your dream guy, and this guy knows you inside and out. He knows exactly what you love. He knows all your preferences. Like, he knows you to a T. He knows all the things that you want, right? And say this guy really wants to propose to you, and he has this elaborate plan put together of like the perfect proposal for you, okay? Are you gonna sit there and ask him, how are you planning to propose to me? No, you're not. Do you know why you're not going to? Because that would ruin the whole effing thing, okay? If you were to ask a guy, by the way, I know you want to ask me to marry you. What is your actual plan? Because a lot of girls have this thing where they're like, well, I want to make sure I'm in the right outfit, and I want to make sure I have my nails done. I want to No, you don't need to do that. If you were to just show up looking your best all the time, that wouldn't be an issue, but that's besides the point. The point here is that you're not asking the how for a proposal, so why are you gonna ask the how now? The universe literally has a concrete plan to bring you whatever the hell it is that you want. There is a solid step-by-step that already exists in the ether, but every time you sit there and you question it, you're getting in the way. You're literally stopping the process. You're creating a lot of blockages, and the universe is like, well, we can't really do much of anything until she just lets go and lets me do the damn thing. So this is why you literally just need to let go. The best things in life, if you look back at all the best things that have happened for you, I will guarantee you 99% of those things were not planned. You had no expectations, right? You know how they say, oh my God, it's always the most spontaneous things, like the most spontaneous plans that end up being the most fun. And the reason for that is because you went into it without a certain set of expectations of how it was supposed to happen, okay? You just went into it, you're like, shit, let's just see what happens. Let's just see where it goes. You had fun with it, and then that's what created the best memory ever. So if you were to apply that same mindset to your life and your goals, it would literally be the same exact thing, right? Like, if I give you the example of this podcast, I always thought to myself, I would love to have a podcast, because the only thing that I had done for a long time was do short form videos on my TikTok and short form videos on where else was it, like Instagram and stuff like that. But I really wanted a place where I could do long form videos. But the problem was that I didn't really want to have to deal with the editing and deal with all of the things that on the back end of creating a podcast. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to manifest the perfect experience to be able to bring a podcast in a way that felt the most aligned for me, where I don't really have to deal with the shit that I don't like. So that was something that, like I said, was always on my vision board. I didn't really do anything about it. I just kind of sat back and I was like, universe, work your magic. Guess what? Guess what happened after that? Then I had this wonderful company reach out to me and be like, hey, were you thinking of starting your own podcast? Because we'd love to help you bring that to life. And then I was like, oh my God. Then I had another one of those moments where I was like, are you being serious? Is the universe just playing with me right now? Or is this a real thing? Turns out it was a real thing, because here we are literally right now, and I'm giving you this podcast. And guess what? All I have to do is show up and talk. Deadass, you guys. That's the only thing I have to do. I don't have to touch anything else, because I have such an awesome team that I'm working with who is doing all of the stuff that I don't like to do. So there you have it. If you were to just relax, do the fun thing of deciding what it is that you want. What does your dream career look like? The dream version of you where you're living that dream life. You have, maybe it's your dream house or your dream car or whatever it is. If you were to literally write the story of your perfect life, but only focus on the end outcome, forget the middle. The middle does not matter right now, because then you're worried too much about the how, you're overthinking, you're trying to control it too much. You can't really get anywhere when you do that. So this is why focus on what is the end outcome in my life that I want right now. What is it that I am seeking? And fun fact, it's actually not the material thing that you're looking for. It's more of the experience and the feelings that you're going to get out of it, that's what you want. So oftentimes a lot of people actually get too specific about those goals, and they make it kind of like a materialistic thing. Of like, okay, I do want my dream car, but it has to be a Range Rover. But it's like, what if you just limited it to, I just want my dream car. I want a car where I go in, I step inside my car and I'm like, oh my God, I love the interior. I just love driving this car. I love the experience of being in this car, the happy feelings of being in this car. That's what you want to focus on, not the actual material thing of the car itself. So think about, what are the feelings that you want to have when you wake up in the morning? How do you want to be feeling? I will tell you right now, as somebody who has literally manifested her dream life, doing all the things that I've ever wanted to do thus far, I wake up every single morning and I'm like, holy shit, this is really my life. This is my reality, where I get to wake up, meet with my coaching clients. I also don't have a boss. That's freaking amazing. Who doesn't want that, right? I call my own shots. I get to record this podcast and, just do all the creative work behind this, which is what I'm passionate about. And all the other things that I get to do in my everyday life that makes me wake up and be like, wow, this is really my reality. I feel so grateful. I feel so excited. So I want you to challenge yourself and ask yourself, how do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? Wow, I feel so grateful for what? What are the things that you want to start feeling grateful for? So that is your Limitless challenge of the week, you guys. Give yourself the opportunity to dream about the end goal without worrying too much about how you're going to get there. Because the how is often, like I said, the thing that stops people from actually being able to bring it to life and manifest it. So that is your Limitless challenge of the week. So usually on the podcast, we're going to be having a special guest to delve into a certain topic with them. This week, it's just me. So let's go ahead and talk about something that I am personally really passionate about, which is the power of self-awareness. Okay. This is something that if you are looking to create a shift in who you are and a personal transformation and really up level yourself, you need to start becoming self-aware. And what that means is instead of believing every single thought that your brain comes up with, you need to start just becoming the observer of that thought. So you need to kind of detach from it a little bit and give yourself a space to be like, okay, what thoughts am I thinking without necessarily believing in them right away? Because what happens when you do that is you're giving yourself the chance to identify what kind of thoughts are happening in your headspace that are harming you or that are serving you. Because oftentimes, if you're finding yourself in a really low place, it's because you're having a lot of thoughts that are low vibrational, they're negative, and they're not serving you. And because you are clinging to them and seeing them as the truth, that's what's creating that negative reaction in your body of being like, ugh, right? So let's pretend, for example, you have a test coming up. Maybe you're a student in school and you have a test that makes you really, really nervous every time you think about it. So you have the thought of the test, right? And then you start thinking thoughts of, oh shit, what if I fail? What if I don't do good? What if I fail this course and then I have to retake it and then my parents hate me forever? Well, guess what? If you were to practice the art of observing your thoughts, what happens is you take the step back and you're like, okay, wait, rather than believe all these thoughts that are happening in my head, why don't I just take a step back and look at them without judgment? And what if I just let them pass like clouds, right? So in that moment, what you would do is you would practice a pause. You would literally stop and be like, okay, wait, let me identify what are the thoughts that I'm thinking right now? Are they serving me or are they harming me? And how can I release the thoughts that are harming me? Because the thing is, another thing about all this stuff is that if you're spending too much time thinking about the future and freaking out about the future, or if you also spend too much time worrying about the past and ruminating over the past, you lose out on the present moment, okay? And the present moment is the only thing that exists. And this is something that Eckhart Tolle talks about in The Power of Now, where it's basically that we think that time is linear. Time is not actually linear. There is no such thing as the past or the present. There is only right now. And the way that you spend your present moment right now determines what you're actually manifesting in your reality, right? So if you spend your present moment constantly thinking about the past and ruminating over every horrible thing that's ever happened to you, guess what? Your brain and your body are stuck in that mode, and then that's what you're continuing to manifest. Now, that is not to say that your intrusive thoughts always manifest or that your anxious thoughts, like one singular anxious thought, will always manifest. That's actually not how it works. You're building momentum with the thoughts that you're thinking about the most dominantly, okay? So if you are constantly having the thought of, I suck and everyone hates me, then guess what? That being on repeat, that's going to cause you to manifest more things that make you feel that way. If you're trying to stop that, that's where you have to activate that self-awareness and be like, okay, the thought that everyone hates me makes me feel like shit. I don't want to think about that anymore, so I'm going to release it, right? And that's something that you have to do over and over again to really see a results and see a difference. But the main point here is that the way that you are using your present moment and the level of self-awareness that you have in the present moment determines how well you're able to manifest the life of your dreams, right? Think about, how am I spending my present moment right now? Am I thinking about the future too much? Am I scaring myself thinking about the future? Am I thinking about the past and all of my worst memories and reliving them on repeat? If you are, I challenge you to also spend some time being in the present moment and asking yourself, what can I be grateful about right now? Like, what's something about my surroundings that makes me be like, oh, I really like that? Something as simple as literally your morning coffee. Wow, this morning coffee is so good. I'm so excited to be drinking it. That's something that I do for myself every single morning now, and it's literally changed my life, because rather than get myself stuck in thinking about, okay, what do I have to do later today? And what are the things I have to do? And what are the things that, are coming up for me later? And oh my God, when that thing happened to me in the past, that was so annoying and I hate her. I hope she's when you're thinking like that, you're literally wasting the present moment. All that aside, what's something that you can appreciate about right now? and how can you live in that moment for a little bit so that you're creating a life that you enjoy and you're focusing your energy and your emotions on the things that you love right now. So that was just a teaser of some of the things we're going to be talking about on this podcast. We also have a lot of really fun special guests that will be joining us very soon, some of which include Simplifying Sam, Lauren Ash, Delara, and Mimi Bouchard, coming up very soon on here. So be sure to stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for joining me for the first episode of the Limitless podcast with Nadia. We are going to be dropping weekly episodes on every major streaming platform. So wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to subscribe. Apple Music, Spotify, the whole 9 yards. We are also going to have a video version on the Past Your Bedtime YouTube channel, so make sure you type that in if you want to be seeing my beautiful face, and hit subscribe. Don't forget, your Limitless challenge of the week is to let yourself be delusional and plan out what you would want your dream life to look like. Also, don't forget to tag me if you do this challenge and you see some results, because I always love to celebrate your wins with you guys. So I will see you all in next week's episode, and don't forget to be delusional and be limitless.